What's up, you guys? Scott here. So if you've been in the industry long enough as a therapist or a coach and you've talked about your offer to enough potential clients, at some stage you're going to experience the dreaded objections. Objections can come in any form from, I have to ask my husband or my wife, I'll get back to you in 24 hours. It's too expensive. I'm going to go elsewhere. Can you send me an invoice or an email with everything we've talked about today and everything in between? Now, sure, you can spend your time learning some new slick sales strategy, hypnotic language, or even NLP technique to overcome objections, just like these videos will teach you. And while this might give you some inspiration during the conversation to handle those objections, what if by a chance there was a way that you could handle objections even before your client gets on a call with you? That's right. In this video, guys, I'm going to show you the strategy and the system that you can put in place where you'll never have to deal with any objections again if your client does get on that call with you. The reason I think this is important is because I firmly believe that all objections should be handled and can be handled even before your strategy call, even before your clarity call, your sales call, whatever you're doing as a therapist or a coach. And yes, this lines up perfectly to selling your hypnotherapy and coaching service. So no longer will you have to spend your time trying to memorize this slick sales line, this hypnotic objection destroyer, whatever it is. I want you to realize that we can put things in place to handle the objections before your client gets on a call. So guys, without further ado, let's dive in. So here's what was happening. So in the past, when I used to be a stop smoking therapist for lawyers to quit smoking, this is where I started to notice the most objections. Now, sure. So in the past, this is what happened. And this is where I noticed the most objections in my business. Now, sure, I fell for the old NLP language, hypnotic language, trying to have some slick sales line to overcome objections till I realized that it really wasn't doing anything. It was a lot of garbage, and it was a lot of me trying to practice what to say if my client says this, which never really worked out in that timeline. So instead, the only thing I could get control of was the system itself. And I started to think, well, what if I could handle the objections before I got on a call with that client? What if I could put things in place to put my potential clients' minds at ease so all of their objections would be destroyed before they got on a call with me, which would leave the strategy call with a great and easy conversation, no objections, and someone ready to buy immediately. So this is what I did. But before I get into how to do that, this is what I noticed. And you're probably noticing this in your business as well. So guys, yes, all the way back in the past, I used to do the old thing of, selling hypnosis, doing the stop smoking packages, programs and sessions. And like normal, I was about $100 per hour. So this was my offer. This was my price. And this is what I was trying to sell to people. So I'd get people on a sales call, had no real strategy call system or anything like that. Wouldn't do a survey, wouldn't do any of those things. And I would get on a call, and usually the first thing the client would ask me, Scott, what's the price? So I'd give them the price, which would destroy the whole call anyway. But here's what I noticed. When I was selling stop smoking, when I was selling hypnotherapy, remember, I've done many videos on this before, clients are not buying hypnotherapy. They're not buying NLP. They're not buying RTT. They don't buy any of that stuff. What they want is a result. So I didn't know that at the time. So I'm trying to sell them the how, something that clients don't understand. They don't understand hypnosis, nor do they care. So here I am trying to still sell stop smoking. I'm selling the hypnosis. And I'm selling it for about $100 per 2 sessions. So I'm basically banking on about $200 per client. But even though my prices were low, even though I thought I was selling the right thing, what was I getting? Price objections. What was crazy is I got more price objections when my prices were low. Why? Because the quality of client was low. So I'd get price objections. I had people ask me if I can do it cheaper. Then I'd get that I've got to ask my husband, I've got to ask my wife, objection, Scott, I'll get back to you in 24 hours. And here's me sitting by my phone or by my email, waiting for them to respond, which they never did. Then I would get the normal, will this work for me, Scott? My story is different, blah, blah, blah. Also the guarantee. What's your guarantee, Scott? How can you assure me that this is going to work? And the biggest one was hypnotherapy objection. Scott, I have heard that hypnotherapy does this. I heard it's mind control. I heard that you can stay in hypnosis, blah, blah, blah. Am I going to be safe? All of those common objections. And I noticed these objections were happening all the time when I was selling this. And be mindful of this, because in the next slide, I'll show you why we want to stop selling this. Plus, I'll leave a video below, guys. I've talked about this to extensive length about why you want to stop selling hypnotherapy and coaching and sell the results instead. So I was getting objections here, but I was also getting objections with my social media. Here I am trying to market my business, and what was I doing? I was talking about my journey, why I became a hypnotherapist, how I first experienced hypnosis. Then I talked about my story, why I first went to a hypnotherapist myself, which I did. And I thought people would relate to that and be interested. The biggest one was, guys, I was talking about my mentor all the time. Here I am. I adore my mentor for what he taught me to do. And I thought, well, I like it. I really adore this guy. Shouldn't everybody else? And here I am trying to talk to people about my journey, my story, trying to tell people about my mentor. I was also trying to explain hypnosis. Trying to explain hypnosis at the time through like blogging. I was doing some videos as well. Imagine trying to explain hypnosis in a 2 to 3 minute video. You wouldn't be able to articulate it correctly enough for the general public to understand. But I was also working with anyone in any niche. Sure, I was trying to aim for stop smoking. But if someone came along, because I was so desperate, someone came along and said, Scott, I have anxiety. Can you help me with that? I'd say yes. And they say, well, I can only afford $50. And I'd say, okay, let's just get you in. I'm busy, but I'll squeeze you in, which means that I was broke and I had all the time in the world. I just needed to get some money into my business. And low prices. Okay, so when my prices were low, I was getting all of these objections because the quality of client was low. So putting all this together, I'm selling the wrong thing at the wrong price, but I'm also talking about all the wrong things in my marketing. And for a lot of you guys are still doing the same thing. If your marketing is full of talking about your journey, your story, what NLP is, what hypnosis is, what coaching is, how the mind works, and talking about yourself with constant selfies and things like this is one big catalyst as to why you're getting objections. So once I realized this, I didn't want to do the whole slick sales line, overcome objections by saying these 2 words, garbage. I looked at this and thought, hang on, this has to change. So when I looked at the system that I was running, I stopped blaming people for not buying my service because I want to take ownership of this. I'm taking responsibility. So what's the only thing that I can control and I can change? What if I change the whole system? So that's what I went on and did, as I've talked about in many videos before. And what I noticed is when I changed all these things, which I'll take you guys to the next slide, I stopped getting objections. And all of the things I was doing here, I stopped, put my prices through the roof. Everything changed in my marketing. Everything changed in what I was selling and my offer and my price and things like this. And I pretty much ended up with no objections. So what does this look like and how can you add this to your system? Let me take you to the next slide and let's really pinpoint where these objections can be handled before the call. Yes, we want to handle objections before the call starts. That way you don't have to rely on some slick sales line or NLP line, which doesn't work anyway. So let's go to the next slide. Remember, I took responsibility for me not making sales, me not making money, and having clients giving me every objection under the sun. And this was constant. So this is what I changed, guys. Let's go through this piece by piece. So I realized the big client objections were coming from these things right here. So here I am doing my marketing. I'm talking about the how. I'm talking about NLP. I'm talking about coaching. I'm talking about hypnotherapy. I'm talking about the unconscious mind. I'm talking about my journey, my story, all of those things. But what I'm not portraying about myself is being an expert. I'm not talking about results. I haven't found a niche. I'm not an expert in anything. So that had to change. The next thing I realized that another big reason why clients weren't buying from me, remember, an objection is really just an excuse as to someone saying no, they just don't want to hurt your feelings, is clients just didn't believe me, what I was saying, because I wasn't really sure what I was talking about. I wasn't handling their objections. I wasn't talking in their language. I'm trying to talk like a hypnotherapist and a coach to try and sound articulate and smart, but all I'm doing is just my message, as it were, was just falling on deaf ears. So my clients didn't believe in what I was talking about. But also my result, the end result, was really unclear. Okay, I hadn't really nailed down what the offer was and what the total transformation would be for my client, because I'm too busy talking about hypnosis and things like this. But also, as I mentioned before, when my prices were low, the quality of my clients are low. And guys, I get it. Intellectually, it makes sense. You've probably been told by your gurus as well that if you have low prices, you'll get more clients. But that doesn't happen. There's too much competition for that to happen anymore. But at the same time, low prices are going to attract low quality clients. And it was always funny, the clients that were struggling money-wise, this is not a criticism, it's just the data that I received and what I looked at, is the lower my prices, the lower the quality of client. And these low quality clients wanted me to give them so much extra stuff for free. They always argued my price, which, you know, it was ridiculously cheap anyway. And they were rude. They weren't on time. They were late, as an example. But they also didn't send me testimonials. And the transformation, I thought I gave them a great transformation, but the end result for them, they were just like, yeah, it's okay. Then a couple of weeks later, I'd get a call saying, Scott, I want my money back. Low quality of clients. So that had to change as well. And I also realized that when my clients use the objection of, Scott, I'm going to get back to you in 24 hours. I knew what people were going to do. They were going to go shopping elsewhere. And I couldn't blame them because I came across as just another therapist, another hypnotherapist. Guys, I want you to look at when you did your training, look at all your colleagues and friends you did your training with. If you're in a room with another 150 therapists, coaches, NLP is about to be certified just like you, they're all going to sell the same things as you. They're all going to have the same price as you because that's what you've been taught. You know, it's not your fault, it's just what you've been taught. They're going to market the same as you. They're going to use social media the same as you. The offer and the price, all of that's going to be the same. And if that's the case, now a client has another 150 people to choose from. So if you come across as the same as everybody else, we cannot blame the clients. Take responsibility for this. We have to change everything in your system and what you're doing for the business. So clients didn't realize I was an expert. They didn't believe me. My result was unclear, low prices, low quality clients, and just another therapist. I was just another hypnotherapist. They go shopping around. So Scott says he can do it for $100 a session. Well, Joe Bloggs said he can do it for $75. And he told me that Scott's no good and he's more qualified than Scott. You know what therapists like to undercut each other and talk bad about each other just to get a sale. And of course that client's going to go to them because they make a better story than I am. You know, they give a better offer than I have. I can't blame them. Okay. So these were the main objections. Okay. And these are the main objections as to the objections. I'm saying this a lot. The reason you're getting them. Your clients do not see you as an expert. Your clients do not believe you because you're talking about the wrong things. And we'll talk about what's to change in a moment. The end result is unclear. If your end result for your transformation, whether it's a program, a package, a service, it doesn't matter what your background is. If your end result sounds like this, I can help you step into your power. What the fuck does that mean? And excuse my language here because I get really passionate about this. I get excited about this because it's such an interesting point. And I want you guys to really absorb this as well. If your end result is something like that, what's going to happen? Your client's going to get to the end of your package or your program, your service, and you're going to say, great, now go ahead and step into your power. And the client says, well, I don't really know what that is. Oh, you must realize you're already there. Just trust the universe will give it to you. Just trust that it's there. The client says, well, no, I don't really feel any different. What was I supposed to get? And then you, the therapist, and you, the client, start going back and forward, email after email, call after call. You trying to justify the end result that you know you haven't given them. They're trying to explain to you that they don't feel the way you said, and it just becomes an argument. What happens? Then you wake up to that dreaded email saying, I want my money back. So the end result has to be so clear. And it doesn't have to be necessarily tangible because emotional things aren't tangible, but your client has to either have it tangible, like non-smoking, or they have to feel it, like they can go out into a crowd and not feel anxiety anymore. Has to be something physical, tangible, or something emotional where they know it's there. Something has changed. Low prices will always lead to low quality. I've talked about price in so many videos, guys. If you haven't adjusted your price, I don't know what else I can really say about that. I've done plenty of videos of that. And if you're just seen as another therapist or a coach, you haven't differentiated yourself. Very hard in this market. There's so much competition. And you don't differentiate yourself with a different funnel, a different business name, a different business card, a different flyer, different logo color. And yes, I've actually seen people talk about this. This is not how you differentiate yourself. You differentiate yourself by finding what is called a blue ocean niche where there's no competition. I'll leave that video below. Go check that out. Anyway, let's move on. So how do we fix all of this? Well, remember I said before that when I was doing my marketing, my social media, I was talking about all the wrong things. So I want you to objectively look at your social media, guys. Okay, you can argue with me all day long and say, Scott, you know, it's about my journey. It's about my story. That's fine. You can believe that. But I also want you to look at your bank balance. And this is the reason there is a catalyst. This is all connected. The reason you don't have money in your bank is because you're talking about all the wrong things on social media. Now, if your social media, remember objections, we want to handle objections before the call. Your social media is one place where all your clients' objections can be handled even while you sleep. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. You have to be seen everywhere, and your content should encapsulate destroying that objection. So every time you create a video, like I'm doing a video here, what am I talking about? I'm talking about a common question that coaches and therapists have. They always ask me, Scott, how do I overcome objections? So what do you think I'm doing? I'm making a video about myself. I'm not making a video about NLP or hypnosis or coaching or entrepreneurship or business, because that's just generic stuff no one's really looking at. I'm answering common questions. My social media is not full of selfies. It's not my story. It's not my journey. And also when I was a therapist, when I was talking about this stuff, I was getting objections. Once I stopped talking about this stuff and used social media properly to destroy objections, that's when everything changed. So your clients should be able to find you online across all those social media platforms, and all your social media should be about answering common questions, because these common questions, if they're brought onto the strategy call, become an objection. So why wouldn't you create one video as an example on YouTube where thousands of potential clients can watch that video, have all of their objections handled, and now you've got 1,000 people, just as an example, that have had that objection destroyed by you. Now you're seen as the expert. Now you have shown how deep your knowledge goes, and now those potential clients can be ready for a call for you. But let's say, for example, I'm a potential client and I've got anxiety. And for some reason, I stumble across your page. And in one of your posts, you talk about being an anxiety expert. And I go, interesting, I've got anxiety. Let me find out more. But all I can see in your social media is selfies. You talking about your story. You talking about your journey. You talking about this thing called hypnosis, NLP, RTT coaching. What the hell is that? I have anxiety. I don't know what this stuff is, but you're talking about being an anxiety expert. This doesn't make sense to me. There's a conscious dissonance. Something's not connecting here. No selfie, no matter how attractive you are, guys, is going to destroy an objections. How can someone who has an objection about working with you, can they really overcome their anxiety because they've had it for 30 years? How can that be destroyed by you taking a selfie with some motivational quote that you stole from Tony Robbins? It's impossible. But if you create videos talking about results of anxiety, how anxiety does this, how it starts here, how it can be destroyed, what this can happen and this can, and you start showing how deep your knowledge goes as a niche, as the anxiety expert, and talking about every angle of anxiety you can think of, even if you don't think it's relevant, you're going to show how deep your knowledge goes. Your story, no matter how unique it is not as unique as you think it is, because there's so many other people that have been through the same thing as you, but doesn't necessarily mean your clients have had the same story. Big thing, clients don't care why you became a therapist or a coach. I do, because I'm in the industry and I care about you guys. I'm very interested how this started for you. But if you're working with general public, they couldn't care, just like you probably don't care about them either. Let's be honest here. People care about themselves, so you've got to adopt that mindset. So social media, you need to fix it. Okay, and I've made many videos about this, guys. Just go check out all the videos in our channel. I talk about social media a lot. The next one is when I was receiving objections. When I first started, I wasn't doing the strategy call, the sales call, or anything like that. People were basically emailing me and I was giving them my price and I wouldn't hear from them, that normal thing. So one way to get over those objections as well is to start thinking, okay, am I actually doing some sort of strategy call? Am I doing a sales call or a clarity call? Call it whatever you want. But also, am I surveying all my clients? What the survey does, guys, before you get on a call, so how it would work is someone would find your booking system. They'd click on a day or a time and a date of when they want to, do the strategy call with you. Then it goes to a survey and then it confirms their booking. Okay. So the survey is important because what's going to happen is, let's say someone books a strategy call, you get a notification via email. You want to look at that survey and go, okay, what objections can I see here? You want to go through all your survey questions. And if you start seeing objections like not really motivated, unsure if this will work for me, don't have the funds to pay for your service, these things are going to show up on the strategy call. So my advice is don't bother taking that call, just cancel it. Now, don't worry about saying no to people. Don't feel bad about it because there's enough general therapists and coaches out there that don't do any of this stuff that charge $12 a session. They can go to them. So they're still going to get some sort of help, no matter the quality. It doesn't really matter. But you want to start looking at these objections before you get on a call. There's no point taking a call if the survey is wrong and just think, well, I've got some hypnotic language. I'm going to hypnotize them into saying it's just absolute garbage. And I've seen those courses out there. Again, don't fall for those things, guys. If the survey is wrong, cancel the call, because your time on an hour strategy call where the outcome is going to be negative anyway, they're going to say no. That hour you spend on a bad strategy call can be put into here to create some more videos answering objections for later. See my point here, guys, really about being efficient in our time. So survey all your calls. do a strategy call, but realize you're not selling hypnosis and NLP and coaching. So you don't even have to talk about that stuff on the strategy call. Okay. It's really about finding out your client's journey, where they have come from, what the problem is, how it affects them, how it manifests in them, all the way through to your offer, your price. But realize people are not on a strategy call for you to talk their ears off about hypnosis, NLP, and coaching. That's not why they're there. They're always results driven. Okay. So social media, we've got to fix that. Make sure you're doing surveys and strategy calls with all of your clientele. The next one I mentioned just before, when my end result was really, really vague, I got the normal objections. So if your end result is vague, it's not tangible, you're going to have issues, you're going to cause some objections. But also realize, we've talked about this before in other videos, if the end result, like the transformation you're going to give your client, if it's going to take too long, like I'm going to work with you to overcome anxiety, it's going to take us 6 months, and it's just an example, 6 months to work with you, and we're going to have 100 sessions, you're going to get all these workbooks, you're going to get this diary, you're going to get this audio, you're going to get this, you're going to get my autobiography. People put that in there as well, and I've seen this, which is weird. I'm going to give you all of these extra things. Now it's going to take too long for your client to get their result, and clients are time poor. So one surefire way to lose that client is if a client finds out, hey, I can go somewhere else and get this transformation in 3 months instead of 6 months, I'm probably going to go with them. Okay. So you have to realize that if your result is too long or it's too bloated, it's going to turn people away, and people are just going to give you an objection. If there's too many moving parts, too many sessions, too many hours, too many of this, too many of that, you've got to come here, I've got to be there, we're going to catch up here, then email. Too many moving parts is going to cause your client to have to put too much effort into getting their result, and clients don't like effort. Clients are lazy and they're time poor. Okay. So putting all of this together, I realized that if I changed all of this before my client got on a call, what was the difference? Well, I went from every objection you can imagine. I've heard it all. I tried to have the slick sales line. I tried to think, well, if they say this, I'm going to say this, I'm going to practice this line and do this and do this. But it's something I couldn't control because I don't know what they're going to say. It's very hard to think on your feet sometimes to give it the right answer to move the conversation along. So what I realized was I broke down my entire system and thought, why are my clients ending up on the call with all of these objections? What have I done wrong? What can I take responsibility from? And I realized it was in me, the way I was coming across, my lack of expertise, not being clear, low prices, and I was just not differentiated enough. Also realized my social media, I was talking about all the things you guys talk about with the selfies, the story, the journey, all of those types of things, getting objections. I realized I wasn't really doing a lot of strategy calls or sales calls, or even when I did do them, they'd last for like 5 minutes because I had no system to follow. But I also realized if I did get to the end of the strategy call, without surveying, I had no idea what the end result was going to be. My end result was vague, not tangible, too long, too bloated, too much effort. And again, I got all of those objections. So really what this video is pointing out, guys, is everything can be handled before the call. So by the time you do all of this correctly, what's the difference? Now I get on strategy calls, and it was the same when I worked all of this out for myself as a stop smoking therapist. By the time I got on a call with my client, most of the conversations sounded like this. All right, Scott, so I want to quit smoking. I just want to make sure that that's still what you do. People confirming that was my expertise. I said, yes. And I said, well, I really only have one question. I'd say, sure, what's the question? Can I pay over the phone? What an incredible strategy call. And I still get that too today. I have people now do strategy calls with, even in my coaching company, and they just say, Scott, can I pay through via Visa or MasterCard, or can I use PayPal? That's sometimes the only question I have to answer. Now, the reason this is important is because how did I know all of this worked? Because outside of my client saying, well, how can I pay Visa or MasterCard, instead of an hour-long strategy call just answering objections all the time, now I'm hearing this. Scott, thanks for taking the call with me. I've watched all your social media. I understand everything you've talked about. All your social media is talking directly to me. I've been on your webinars. I've watched everything. I've learned about you. I've looked at the referrals, the testimonials, the proof. I understand everything you're talking about. I'm ready to go. So what does this tell me? The system has handled objections for me. My social media has handled all of my objections. The survey and the strategy call has handled my objections. I can make it abundantly clear to anyone that joins my program, or even as a stop smoking therapist, what the end result will be, what it will be, what it won't be, and give exact details of how it's going to work. So it's totally clear to my clients. But also I realized with the social media, I actually didn't put this in here. I thought I had, I'll add this as well, is, I've got it over here. So not being an expert. So I also realized that one of the greatest marketing tools I had, and I still use to this day, it's not a funnel, it's not a website, it's not some slick sales line. What it was showing proof. You guys have probably seen all the testimonials that we show, and that's for a reason. Because I realize underpinning all of this, what's the most common objection every client's going to ever have, regardless of your background, guys, regardless of your journey of therapy or coaching, whatever it is, clients want to know, will this work for me? Hands down. So a lot of competition. There's a lot of other people they can go to. But if you can show real results, real tangible results by way of like a quick screenshot, someone sends you a message on Facebook or send you a text message saying this was incredible, my whole life has changed, show it to people. Okay? There is no better marketing strategy than proof. One surefire way to know, to have your clients know, that you're an expert, to show proof of what you've done. If you look at gurus now, everyone calls themselves an expert. They say, well, I can do this for your life and you change your life here and I can help you grow your coaching business to 100 grand a month or whatever it is. And you've probably seen all those things before. But if you don't do diligent research, which your clients are going to do for your service, and you can't find results, you can't find testimonials, you've got to realize that you can't just listen to what people say. You have to look at proof. You have to look at what's going on behind the scenes. So the reason I bring this up is if you're calling yourself an anxiety expert and you're talking about all of this stuff, but your clients do enough diligent research to find out, okay, is this person really an expert? You know, I've heard all these stories before and they can't find testimonials. They can't find proof, but all they can find is selfies, your story, your journey. That, excuse me, that's going to be the issue that they're going to come across. So show proof. Excuse me, guys. Show proof. Okay. So putting all of this together, you can change your entire system. You can change everything you do. Objections are handled before the call, not while you're on the call. So guys, hopefully that was informative. Hopefully that was a different angle to the whole handling objections. I know a lot of people talk about this and give you some crazy sales line. Not necessary. Change the system so by the time a client does get on a call with you, your social media has handled all the objections. The process, the system has canceled out any problem they'll ever have. Now they're ready to buy from you immediately. So guys, that's it from me for today. If you enjoyed the content, please feel free to leave a like, leave me a comment below. It really does help, guys. Even just a quick like or a thumbs up on this video. It's just a small move for you, but it really does mean a lot for me. And it really means a lot for the channel as well. Helps us grow, helps me and allows me to help more people just like yourself. And it also gives me the inspiration to keep creating quality content. Well, I hope this is quality content for you guys. So that's all from me for this video, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.